Good morning, early birds. How are you? This is Dr. Annette Feravich. Where are you shouting? I don't know. So you can hear me on the lowest volume. That's the reason why. So you make sure, I make sure, you know I'm here. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here on day 174 in the classroom. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. I have a feeling, as you know, as most of you know, I just have a feeling that too many weird things are going on. And I just had a kind of sniffly morning. I did. It's April 1st. It's April Fool's Day, but I'm not fooling about that. I really did kind of have a sad morning. It reminds me of, just some sad things in this month is what it reminds me of. But we are here, and I really did do a lot of work over the weekend, early birds. You will see how I have. Happy April Fool's Day. As I have said, we do not celebrate April Fools because I feel as a teacher, the other 364 days are Fool's Days as well. From what I can tell. I bet from what you can tell as well. But we are still here on April 1st in the classroom, and this is the early bird classroom. I am maneuvering our little calendar. We'll put the sunshine there. And we've got our little farm animals still here, right? Oh, I love them. And I wanted to show you a couple other things. I didn't do a lot over the weekend, early birds, our 4 days off, except for work on the classroom. I did go to the library, and I'm very excited about having gone to the library. I got a book I'm already reading online that I got on archive.org, right? Told you about that. That's where I get a lot of my books. But I usually like reading the hardcover book, or I usually like reading the real book. But I found I like the book I'm reading. It's called God is Red. Not because he's angry, but he could be. But it's really good. It's about Native Americans. And it is about, how different their struggle has been than other minorities. Other minorities here in the United States were just like, yes, stay over there. But American Indians were just like, oh no, oh, what have we done? Oh my God. So anyway, that is a really good book. I have to say, it's an adult book, but it's a good book. I also got this from the library. I went to Plymouth Library, and it's called, this is called The War to End All Wars. Plymouth Library has a different name, Dunham something else. I don't even know. But I got this for our Bookless classroom. I wanted to show you also something that I've been talking about, which has been that little house. I pulled it out. I showed you some of the things that I built, right? So I showed you the fireplace that I built for the wall, right? And I showed you the corner wall that I made with the little tiny, look at that. That's my finger. Look at, that's the bookcase. I know. Isn't that crazy? I love it. And my little crooked window, but look at that. All that outside going on the inside. So we have that. But I wanted to show you a couple other things that I did, just because, remember, we are talking also about thinking and creativity. And I wanted to show you also, really, so you have a really good idea of how much I do keep out when I'm working on a project, right? I didn't get to the other chair. Remember, I showed you that I did that chair out there, right? And I repainted that chair. And it looks spectacular. It does. I'm so happy with it. But I didn't get to the other chair, but it's out there. I pulled it in. I was going to get to it. I didn't feel like getting to it. I was really working a lot on this. So on the classroom. So I did want to show you though what I had been working on at the apartment number 1. This is apartment number 2. I want to show you what I have been working on, and that is, so I did build for next to, so the fireplace is actually going to go here like this. Doesn't really help you a lot, does it? On this wall, let's say, but on this wall is this little TV set, right? So I've got this one wall over here, got the TV set on the other wall here. So I've got the TV right there with its little stand. I haven't put anything on the stand, but you can tell with my creative mind, I'll figure out something to do on the stand, right? Okay, and here are my windows, but the walls fell apart. I was so disappointed. I really was. So I had to figure out a different way to make sure I got a few windows in here. So I did make a couple windows, and they look awesome when they are in the walls. I couldn't make a lot of windows because the piece will fall apart. I think I told you that before. Here's a square window I did make for the kitchen. So this one is going in the kitchen, and it works out. I wanted to show you here. This is a little desk that is going to divide the laundry room, and here is my floor plan that I started with. So that's what I started with. Oh, I've got the washer and dryer over there. So you already saw the washer and dryer. Go look back a few videos ago, and I show you the washer and dryer. I think it's when I came back. So it would have been like, I don't know, 168, day 168. So this is just a divider here that I put here. So the washer and dryer will go on one side, and the office is on the other side. So here's the office. Here's where the washer and dryer goes. And then I'm going to have, this is the entryway. So what I did to start building this dollhouse is that I did start with the floor plan. And really, it is quite a small house when you think about, doll houses, but it's going to work. It was my first attempt, and I couldn't make it so big so that I had so much to do, right? So these are the things when you keep your project, look like I have like a Jim Henson hand. That's from the Muppets. Jim Henson, the Muppets. So look it up, Jim Henson hand. You'll get it. Anyway, I couldn't overwhelm myself with the project that I knew. Even now, I'm overwhelmed with this because I'm just know as much as I love it, I'm going to have trouble getting it done. It's only because I'm afraid. I'm afraid. But when I leave it out, it starts getting me to do things like I want to get all the walls ready and everything ready so that then I could go and take the stain on the floor, and these will all be wood floors. I know! Look at that. And I had to decide, like I knew where the entryway was going to be, and I knew how it would be easiest for me to make this platform, this plan. But I didn't know exactly where I wanted things. I knew I needed, and I knew I wanted an upstairs and the bedrooms upstairs and that kind of thing. But I didn't know if I wanted a master bed downstairs. That's when I made the laundry room instead, right? And this right here, I was going to have be a sunroom, which would be a wonderful sunroom. But I've got a window here for a sunroom, somewhere over here for a sunroom. So that's good enough for me. And kids love cars, and so I felt I needed a garage to have the cars go in and out of the garage. So this is the garage. You come into the kitchen, there will be a window over here. Here's where the entryway was. And so it kind of fell together between looking at it, knowing what I could build and not get frustrated by, right? And then kind of, winging it. Deciding, oh, this will be the sunroom. I'll have windows. Oh, my windows are falling apart. I can't keep the bricks together. Right? Probably things builders have to think about too, right? Because it's where the windows are, there's a weakness in the wall. So builders probably have to think about those same things as well. Anyway, it's been really fun, and I did want to show you the floor plan. I can't wait to get it stained. When it's stained, it will look like a floor. One of the things about staining, you want that to be one of the last things you do. I wanted to glue the walls on because of the wood glue, right? So if you have stain on it, it's not going to stick as well. Anyway, that's what I've been doing, early birds. I wanted to let you know because we have been sharing, we've been sharing ideas about creativity. Right? And we also went into reading comprehension, didn't we? I didn't forget where we were. Didn't just like 4 days off, brain farts. No, didn't happen that way. But now there is one because I started looking at the books and I said brain fart. And so that's funny to me. All right, stop. So don't think I forgot where I was. I remember where I was. We were in this reading comprehension as well. And what we were reading is we were reading the very first story, which was A Morning in Maine. Okay, so I did not actually pop that up, and I do want to pop that up. It is open there on my desktop. I just haven't put it on my... I don't think I did. But I have it right there. Okay, so I found this in the archive.org, which some of you are familiar with. I look for this all the time. Now, to see if there's a book, and this is where I read God is Red, right? Where I read R-E-A-D, God is Red, R-E-D, okay? And in fact, I swear to gosh, my husband had that book, and he knew about that book. It's really a really, really good book. Anyway, so I wanted to open this up and show you a little bit about what I am looking at and what I'm looking for when I'm doing these things for you, when I'm putting together this particular lesson, and what I noticed about this particular lesson. And that is, there's our story, right? A Morning in Maine. But what I loved about this book, and there are different versions of this book, and I had to get this one, right? This exact version, because it has other things in it that I think are spectacular for helping us build our reading skills, like the vocabulary skills that we looked at, right? So we looked at those different words which mean change someone's mind, convinced, talked about, discussed, right? Discussed, D-I-S-C-U-S-S-E-D, not D-I-S-G-U-S-T-E-D, which I've been with many people, but that's a different story. Very small. What was that? Was it tiny? I think it was it. I don't think it was tiny. It's in paragraph 10. Let's look. What was that word? Miniature. It looked like it's like a miniature ocean. So miniature. So in this way, we did all the true and false right here, by looking at some of these other things that are in this great reading book for 4th grade, we are also expanding our vocabulary. Ocean water that moves in and out several times a day, a tide, not deep. Was that shallow? I'm not sure. It seems like it would be, but oops. Yeah, that's what I wanted. 12. Yes, in shallow pools. Water gets caught in shallow pools, and what they're looking at is the marine life that gets caught in those shallow pools, right? So what they are saying is it's like a miniature ocean in those pools when that ocean life gets trapped in those holes, right? In the holes in the sand when the tide comes in and out. See? So we don't call it water. It's an ocean anyway, by the way, that they're talking about. So why would you call it water? We want to be specific. My students ask me, why do I use big words? I didn't think I really used big words, but for 4th grade, some of them are probably big. But you know what? So is miniature, isn't it? That's got a few syllables. Miniature. I think that's how it's done. Or is it miniature? Yeah, because there's an I and an A there, right? So I think it's miniature is what it is. Anyway, that's a long word. That's a big word. Sometimes I use big words, but they ask me, why do I use big words? You know, saying I convinced someone is a little bit stronger than I changed someone's mind, right? Or someone changed their mind is what that word is saying, right? Also, what is here in this book is study skills. And this is another thing that I thought was really fantastic as far as this lesson goes. So I do have to get it a little bit closer to me because I really can't see what that says. Hold on. I think my glasses are pretty dirty is what it seems like. Guide words are printed at the top of each page in a dictionary. So this is showing you how to use dictionary skills. That's why I loved this. So we're going to come back to this dictionary skills because what we're doing right now, and we're just getting to our topic. What's our topic, early birds? This is a little exciting, I happen to think. Our topic is we're going to do Bookless Classroom this week. And again, we're starting World War I in Bookless Classroom. Our topic is writing. What does it take to make a podcast like this one, day 1? You're like, okay, cool, but we're not even talking about podcasts. And by the way, we're really not even going to talk about how to make a podcast, right? Because that's technology, and I barely have that together. Why would I spend time on technology? No, what I'm going to talk about is content. That's what I'm going to talk about. So we are here on day one about how did I get to be so smart to be able to do a podcast like this one. And that's really, early birds, where it begins. You have to be smart in something. I remember when I was taking a writing class, and in that writing class, my teacher was really encouraging. She wanted me to be a writer. I could see myself being a journalist, but I just didn't see that there was a lot of, money in it. It was hard work and few people got to be really successful. My son went to journalism school at Eastern Michigan University, and I don't know how he's really doing in it. I happen to think myself, I think he's doing something with it. But that's like a big secret to me, and that's a whole mysteries. Watch my mystery series, Early Birds. No, probably Early Birds. It's not for little kids. My mystery series is not for little kids. Sometimes I have kind of a nasty mouth because I'm trying to get rid of criminals, and so I speak their language. Not really criminal language, like some people accuse me of, but I speaketh their language. Let's just leave it there. Okay, so how did I, in some ways, get to be so smart about putting a podcast together like this? So when my my writing teacher said, Annette, why don't you think about a career? What I said to her is, I could think of things to write about, sure, just like all kinds of, podcasts are out there, like on SNL. Oh my gosh, could we have any more stuff on SNL for Pete's sake? Really? That's what it is? Let's, talk about the good old days again? No, that's not what this is. This isn't reminiscing about something that I, when I dated or I think it's valuable for mothers to get on podcasts and tell what they know about kids. That's a lifelong journey, right? But my dating was not a lifelong journey. Dear Jesus, God in heaven, please, no. It's a horrible time in people's lives, just letting you know. But, if you do find somebody that you loved as much as I loved my husband, and I did love him a lot, if you do find somebody that you love that much, then it is really worth the crappy dates you have to go through. Just let me know, early birds, what's ahead for you? What's ahead for you? When you are getting old enough and you start having those feelings, which are later in life, by the way, folks, or in your teen years. They're not earlier in elementary school. For the person that you really start having more feelings for. It's kind of an interesting time. You can't help yourself. You've got to go out on dates. You can't help yourself. But I'm telling you, it's scary stuff. It's treacherous waters is what it is. Okay, let's move on. See, so there's a big word. Treacherous, right? Treacherous. Why does she use such big words? Because that's a great word right there. Hello, that's a great word right there. Okay, now I am going to flip to, no, Oakland University, sorry, not flip out. I'm just going to flip to my PowerPoint. And I had it all ready as well. And it's nice and big too. That's what she said. Okay, so let's get moving. There's our schedule and our new schedule. And today's topic And now this is where we were. So, interpreting stories. What we were talking about is that the author intends us to do. The author only tells us so much of the story. And so, what do I have next there? All right, setting a goal in writing. We're going to kind of go backwards a little bit, right? I think, never mind. I know I've got it on there and I'm not going to worry about it. Worry about what, Dr. Feravich? Worry about what's in my mind right now, about decoding stories with the author's intent. We're going to get to there to know a little bit more about stories and reading comprehension and writing, because when we're the author, there's only so much we might want our reader to know, right? For example, early birds, if I was writing a mystery, I couldn't be telling you that which clues were the right clues and which clues were misleading. As the author, I would know who did the murder. I'm not writing it going, oh my gosh, I wonder how this is going to turn out. No, that would be silly, early birds. No, we as the author writing the story know everything about our story. But we want the story to unfold in different ways, right? The beginning, setting an introduction, the middle, building to our climax, and then the end, the resolution to the climax, right? Okay, so we only reveal so much, just like what I said. Oh my gosh, the wolf ate Granny. End of story. So let's move on. So what I want to talk about right here is setting a goal. So our topic is that what I wanted? It is, but where's my, hold on just a minute. I've got to take a look at. Oh, it's right there. Duh. It's not what I wanted. Okay, it is what I wanted. I had to get my, it's April Fool's Day, so I gave the staff the day off, right? And so I'm here trying to figure all this out. Okay, so setting a goal in writing. For writing. Setting a goal for writing, let's just say. All right? So what I have here is, because I wanted to remind myself about what I wanted to for sure talk about the big picture in this. This is the first in our series that has a stated goal at the beginning. This is like our thesis statement, all right? Our thesis statement. I want to put that in a different color. Maybe not that, maybe this color. No, that doesn't work out. Why do I do that? Why do I have to be the perfect color woman? Because I am. This is like our thesis statement, our goal. That's our goal for the whole thing, our thesis statement. We want to always keep our goal, our thesis statement, if we're writing, in front of us. Throughout, we might adjust our goal until it perfectly represents what we are looking to accomplish. So I had a couple goals in mind when I started this podcast. So I always keep those goals in mind. Remember, one of our goals for the classroom, although it took me a while to figure out this goal for myself, took me a few weeks, right? We started the Bookless classroom. It was on page 4 of the Bookless classroom. Actually, it did not take me a few weeks. I had that up in a few days. I'm almost positive. I might have even had it in the first, might have even known it. Because it was on page 4 of our book, right? Freedom by Edmund Morton. That's it. I can't remember what it's called, but freedom is in the name. Anyway, It is on page 4, and that's what I decided was my classroom thesis. And I keep this in front of me a lot. When I came back here after my little hiatus break, I brought this up right away on day 1. Let's not forget, me in particular, what my classroom thesis is all about. So it comes from page 4, Edmund S. Morgan. Explain how people could have developed the dedication to human liberty and dignity exhibited by the leaders of the American Revolution, and at the same time have developed and maintained a system of labor that denied human liberty and dignity every hour of the day. So really, I have a quest for finding out why this has been a motivation in the United States of America. And in that, I had a philosophical class, which is now engaging, a spiritual class, which is now our engaging class, right? And a lot of this was started and talked about in our Bookless classroom. So there's a lot right there, early birds, that helped me start this podcast. And that is the knowledge that I know I need to have a great thesis, a great direction, right? What's the direction of some of those podcasts? I know the direction of like the podcast Smartless, right? They're not going to ask really hard questions. They're not going to delve too deeply into anything, but it's going to be enjoyable. And I like it being enjoyable, right? My podcast is exactly the opposite. It's smartful, right? There's a lot of smart things in here. When I told my teacher, my writing teacher, I didn't think I had a lot to say, what would I write about? She's like, there's fiction. No, that's not what I wanted to ever necessarily be really great at. I didn't care so much about fiction. My personal goal was to actually bring in general. So when I started the podcast, I knew a long time ago, when I started psychology is when I knew what I wanted to do with my psychological degree. Did I want to go in there and study the science in a lab? No, because I knew that those psychologists were not making a difference. But I knew I could make a difference as a teacher, teaching exactly in psychology what I wanted to teach, which was positive psychology. So what did I want to do? I wanted to bring scientific information related to psychological health and well-being to regular people, or to the regular person, so that they can use it to improve their lives, to make your lives healthier. But it started with basically happier. It starts with happier, and then healthier will fall into place. And that really was part of the problem with COVID, right? COVID, they weren't making anybody happier. And so people really were dying of health complications from COVID that were amplified, that were made bigger. See, there's another word, amplified. Better word than made bigger. Sounds like a big that were amplified by the depression that the medical health industry was championing. That's a hard word to say. I know what it means. Championing. I'm not saying it right. Okay, anyway, let's move on. So, what for me to start this podcast and do a podcast like this, I knew I had to have a wealth of information. I've made over 1,000 videos. There, some of the topics, a lot of the topics overlap because we really have to bring home the point that how you live has everything to do with your health, right? And it's not just how you live physically, it's how you live mentally, it's how you live spiritually as well, right? So, there we go. I didn't like that size. Clearly. Clearly the size was bothering me. That's what she said. This slide you've already seen before, right? But I've got some new words on it. And this was the style of life tree, which was the style of life. And this brings home the point, how do you start a podcast? How do you get creative with the talents that you have? You might need more talent. That's what I needed. I needed more talent, more knowledge, right? Which is talent. That's a talent, right? I needed more talent in order to start this podcast. That's what I felt. Alfred Adler changed his style of life theories until he reached his greatest theory about the creative power of the self. I think I told you that already, early birds, right? So he did not have his theory perfectly. His style of life tree was something that he had earlier. He's a psychologist, and he was a really early psychologist who worked with Sigmund Freud. You've probably heard of Freudian theory. You've probably heard of Sigmund Freud and psychology. He worked with Sigmund Freud, but he had different ideas. His ideas were more like my ideas in how do we get people to grow, right? Really, that's what it is. We want you to grow. Here, he wanted people to grow with other people. He wanted people to grow in their occupation, and he wanted people to grow in love and sex. That's how people grow. That's how families grow, right? So he really wanted people to grow. I'm just thinking about my husband again. I think about him a lot. It stops me sometimes about, his growth as a wonderful person. Oops. I have to get off of that thing. There we go. So, how do we get our creative power? We've talked about this, but I kind of put it together now in just a little bit using different ideas. Think, right? We think, and what I said is we take our time, didn't I? I said we take our time. But the reality is what I'm doing when I'm taking my time is I'm observing. I'm looking at this, and I'm like, if I build this and put this way, as you might think the TV belongs, this ended up being taller than the wall. But I liked the look. So what do? I have the TV here. Now I can put the TV here, and look at that. It stands, well, it did stand there. It stands there sometimes perfectly. Look at that. Those are the things that I learn when I am observing. I should push that back a little bit, but now my TV's probably going to fall onto the floor, no less. I was looking around this is a chalkboard that I got from the dollar store. My pillow is not working right now. They don't really work because they slide all over this beautiful couch. I love my leather couch. But these pillows slide all over. And I need them for my back. Oh, it feels good. Okay. Well, it doesn't feel, no, it doesn't. It's just nice for my back. Anyway, so I looked at the chalkboard, and the chalkboard had wood around it. So what did I do? You could see I painted that, and not only did I paint it, but it looks shiny like the outside of flat screen TVs. Those are the things I was observing. So it's not, remember what I said was take your time, but here I could take my time like this. No, I'm like this. Here, let's do it a little bit longer. No, what I'm doing is I'm taking my time to pay attention and look at and formulate some ideas that I might want. So I'm really proud of the things that I work on, so that I'm really proud of the things that I make. Okay? All righty. Read about things that you enjoy. One of the reasons why I became a psychologist was because I really found that fascinating. And the other thing was that I knew a lot of other people found psychology fascinating as well. But it wasn't easy to be a psychologist. You did have to be smart. I knew it took a lot of work, but I liked that work. And so I knew that even though a lot of people liked psychology, there weren't a lot of people who were able to really do all the work in order to become a psychologist. And I actually knew that I could, right? It's because I would read, and when I didn't understand, I would try to understand because I wanted to understand. I loved psychology. So read, find things that you enjoy reading. Remember that we said reading expands our ideas as well. So try and not read things about just about like war games and warships, for example. Don't only read things about superheroes, for example. Although I do have to say that I do really stay within my genre of things that I like to read. Now, I want to go on and finish this slide, but I have something to tell you, early birds, before we go. Even though I started late, I'm going to end late. Before we go, I want to see, it might be here. Let me just see. It's done. I asked you, early birds, to write a story, didn't I? Before we left, see, you think on those 4 days off, my mind goes, it does not. I asked you to write a story, right, early birds? So, did you write a story? I'll give you another opportunity because we're not going to get to my story today. We had too many other things to talk about. But I did write a story. It's a very short story. It's only about 3 paragraphs long, something like that. I'll get to it tomorrow, but I did write a story. So, that's all I want to tell you. That I wrote a story. I know, I'm so excited about it that I had to tell you before we left. It's a pretty good story. It's not a great story. It's not like you're going to be on the edge of your seat, but it's not a bad story. So, write your story. If you didn't write your story on your 4 days off, I did. And that's what made me think about it, because I wrote a story about something that I'm interested in, which has more to do with real life. That's what I started to say. So I do have a tendency to stick in my own area of reading, but my own area that I enjoy is real life, which means I also enjoy things like documentaries. It also means I enjoy things like history. It means I enjoy things like talking with people about their problems, right? So I enjoy real life. Fantasy is not my thing. But if you're into fantasy, please try and expand your brain into something that's more real. I do think that people get, like with their video games, I think that they get caught in little well, going in circles basically with the same things in their minds all the time. And by the way, as I've said, early birds, if we have everlasting life, we better not already be bored. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are going to start here. Read about the ideas that are opposite of your own. That's what I said. Not boring ideas, right? But different ideas about things we enjoy. And then assimilate information. What part of the information has become a part of you? When we learn about other things and expand our ideas, like for example, in my book, God is Red, for example. I wish I would have brought that out here. Oh, there it is. I'm getting it. There's my pillows flopping around. No, they're not flopping. At least not by themselves. God is Red. So, read something different. How much of this then becomes a part of you, whatever you're reading? How much of it becomes a part of who you are? I'm expanding my ideas about justice and who is in need of justice by in a real sense, in a reality sense, not as in I'm your savior, just as in I'm aware of what you're talking about when you talk about your plight. That's really what I need to do. I'm not going to become a Native American, although I could be already. I don't know. Who even knows, right? Who knows? I'm not going to become one. I'm not going to live on a reservation, although who knows, I could. I don't even know, right? Who knows what the future brings? I'm saying I don't have experience on a reservation. I don't have experience as a Native American. But what this does, so I'm not going to be their teacher. I'm not going to be their, although I could be, I'm not going to be their spiritual guide. Although I could be. From my belief, I'm not going to be their spiritual guide for their beliefs. I could be their spiritual guide for what I believe. I hope that I am, honestly. That's why I teach positive psychology, right? I hope that I'm people's spiritual guide for what I know about, in particular, I would say, American life, right? It's treacherous. It's treacherous. What did I read? Was it in here? Or was it on Little House on the Prairie? I'm not sure. Where it was saying everything here in America has brought tragedy. Tragedy. He had earned enough money to go back home because everything here in the United States brought him tragedy. If you're a minority, that is prevalent. You will experience tragedy here in the United States. So if you're a minority, I'm not quite sure if you should be coming here. The promise just isn't for you. It's not even for people like me who speak for minorities. The promise isn't for people like you. So let's see if I saw something there. So expand your ideas. What part of this becomes a part of me? Well, it becomes a part of me because I begin teaching some of the things that from this book that made me more aware. Even if you don't know it came from this book, I will begin teaching things that's made me become more aware. This is Dr. Annette Feravich, and we are here in the Early Bird Classroom, where we are learning on April Fool's Day, because we're no fools. We know we're supposed to be learning every day, every chance that we get. Every day is an opportunity to learn something more and decide, is this going to be part of who I am, or is it just going to be part of what I know? This is Dr. Annette Feravich, day 174 in the classroom. I will see you back here kind of bright and early. 9 a.m. I like our new start time. It makes me decide, am I going to have coffee? I could make it. I usually don't until Bookless. Thanks for joining me.